Good morning, Pelham Road. Well, we've made it to Thursday. Thursday, we might remember, is a night when Jesus shared a meal with his disciples, a meal that was his Last Supper. We call the Lord's Supper or communion. John's version of this Last Supper is different from the other three Gospels. There aren't any words that you're familiar with. You know, the words that became familiar in the way we share communion or the Lord's Supper. None of that. Instead, this whole thing begins in John chapter 13. And it begins this evening not with breaking of bread, but with the washing of feet. In the wordiest, most philosophically sophisticated gospel, we have a silent action defining the most significant evening. One that would come to shape the way we worship and the way God's people gather for centuries. I think you can sort of imagine the scene with me that played out there in the upper room. Jesus is probably observing how the disciples are all getting along and talking amongst themselves. And there's, by the door, as it would be customary, a basin of water to wash your feet and a towel. And after everyone has come in and is milled around and Jesus has washed them and observed them, Jesus goes over and he puts on a little bit of an apron and he gets the basin of water. And then he goes to wash the disciples' feet. So, when the disciples see this, were they curious, guilty maybe, confused? I'm not sure. But they sat there, I imagine, if you can imagine with me, sort of open mouth, wondering what Jesus was doing. And as he moved around the table, I can imagine how the uncomfortableness grew, maybe even the silence grew, until he finally gets to Peter. And Peter protests, no, Lord. You'll never wash my feet. Can't do that, Lord. And he pulled, you would pull your feet back, his big, dirty fisherman feet, to keep them away from Jesus. And Jesus spoke first words that we can see in this passage. Probably quiet, probably leaned into John and said, now listen, unless you let me wash your feet, you won't have any part of me. And boy, that was a bomb he dropped in the room. Now, I don't know if anybody else overheard it, but certainly it got Peter's attention. Then Jesus explained what he was doing and why. Do you think they got it? I don't know. This group is just as hard-headed and stubborn and distracted as we are, so I don't know. Maybe some of them got it, slowly sinking in. Now the day we observe today in Holy Week is called Maundy Thursday or Holy Thursday. And it has three components. Most prominently, for most of us, is communion. We're used to gathering together on this evening and sharing communion because that's what Jesus did with his disciples. It's the center of the story in the other three Gospels. John focuses on this act of service, and many churches still observe foot washing from time to time. It was certainly uncomfortable for the disciples not because of what was being done. They were familiar with their feet being washed. It was because who was doing it? This was their Savior. But the third component of the evening, the one that actually provides the name, Maundy Thursday, is in the explanation, a new commandment I give to you. A new commandment I give to you is what Jesus said. Maundy is derived from the Latin mandinium, meaning commandment. I give you This is John 13:35 or 34 and 35. It is what Jesus said on the night that he was betrayed, the night that he washed their feet, the night that they shared the Lord's Supper. He says to them, I give you all a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should also love one another. And by this, all men will know you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. Love one another as I have loved you. That's the commandment. And it was given after washing the feet. While Jesus will speak to the disciples again on the other side of the resurrection, these are the last recorded words to this gathered group, according to John. Last words mean something. Our last words are ones that we want to echo for eternity. So the words that Jesus wants to echo for eternity, they will know that you follow me if you love one another. See you tomorrow.